last time we got together, we did an exercise about pointlessness.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty good. That helped this last week.
Did. Yeah, helped during the week. That day definitely helped, and following days. The last few days, I guess, I've been struggling with another concept.
Mm-hmm.
This concept of being, I guess, being happy no matter what, being, being, being responsible for your own happiness, being, happy in yourself even when, the shit's hitting the fan.
Okay.
I'm not good at doing that. People, when they have friends and, whatever saying, that kind of, you're responsible for your own happiness, you need to be, find your happiness within, and, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, all right, well, that's not working for me. So, yeah, so then, it makes me feel, like, okay, well, what do they have? What do they have, or what are they doing that I'm not doing, or is it all a bunch of BS? So, I guess that's been my, because a lot of times when I go within, I don't feel happy. A lot of times I feel sad.
Mm-hmm.
So, did I just come out the sad sheet?
Right.
I don't know, so I guess that's been the last couple of days, kind of an ongoing struggle is this idea, concept of people kind of pound into you, like I said, that, you're responsible for your happiness, be happy, blah, blah, blah.
But you're not.
But I'm not. And that makes me feel worse, when
Right.
people say that.
Such a simple word.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a pain in the ass word at the same time. Well, that word really touches my heart. I think it's great. I think that's great that is what you're grappling with. Because so many, it's, the complexity just goes right out the door with that. It just basically boils down to one simple thing, which is happiness, and that's what I, grapple with. And it's great just to boil it down to that. It has nothing to do with awakening, nothing to do with enlightenment, nothing to do with philosophy or being sophisticated, and also nothing to do with that happiness that we hear about from our friends on the relative social level, relative level. You should be responsible for your own happiness, create your own reality, etc. Yeah, I can. When I talk, that word is a totally powerful word for me. Totally just, for me, goes right to the heart of body, emotion, thought, mind, all that integrated together. Why am I here? What am I doing? What's it all about? Happiness. That word is there. For me, in my path, was there all along. So it really is as a simple of a word that is, it's a really profound moment when you get to that point where you're like, you don't give a rat's ass about any of the spiritual things. It just boils down to something very simple, natural, organic. Happiness. What is that? And your dilemma with it is absolutely correct and beautiful. There is a, and I can shed some light on you know me, I can shed, because I don't put on a happy face, do I? There's not a quality to awakening that from an outward appearance is spiritual or happy. It's very strange because it's happening at a deep level. So we beat ourselves up and we get guilty because at a surface level we aren't happy. And when I even have that of like this, on a surface level, I'm not being happy right now. I should be happy because I'm awake, because I'm Mr. Blue Collar Enlightenment. I should be putting on a smiley face all the time. But then I catch myself and I was like, oh, right, the happiness that we're talking about here is deep within, it's in the heart. So before spiritual awakening, you're not feeling any of it. You're not feeling that happiness that's on a surface level, and you're also not sure of it, confident of it at the heart, deep level. So they get confused, and you can't tell the difference between one or the other. And the best that I can do is to tell you that some of that happiness that you're grappling with is natural, and it's never going to go happiness or unhappiness. It's never going to go away, and some of it you can absolutely deal with. The stuff that you deal with is the deep, deep stuff. And so by and large, Cheryl, you're at this junction where you are. There's all of these surface, of course, things happening in your life which are going to make you unhappy, would make anybody unhappy in a natural way. But you're working with something a little deeper than those surface things, and you know that. And that's the thing that keeps gnawing at you. It's not necessarily that you don't have a job or that you're moving out of here. Sure, those things are annoying, but are they really the cause of your unhappiness? And that's what you're seeing. And you know that deep down, that even if you had a job, the perfect place to live, and the perfect mate, etc., you'd still be unhappy. What is up with that? And what does it mean to find that happiness all the time? Right? Mm-hmm. What does it mean to have access to that happiness all the time? And that gets sold a lot in spiritual awakening, spirituality, and enlightenment. And there is a happiness indeed that you do find, and that is available all the time. It's on a deeper level, and down at that level, we're using happiness as a term for this, on that deeper level. Contentment, fulfillment, peace, and well-being. When we think of the word happiness, there's more or less a kind of ecstatic quality to it, right? Of, boy, this is really, like me, I go fishing and I catch a big fish, I'm really excited and I'm happy. Well, that's not what's there all the time. What you're looking for through spirituality that's there all the time is more or less a sense of contentment, peace, and well-being that's deep down. And how do you be connected to that? That, absolutely. that is the point of this exercise.
Mhm.
Point of so. So grappling with all of that, all those nuances, the difference between the different types of happinesses that we're talking here, and you mix that within spirituality and enlightenment, it all kind of just turns into a clusterfuck, doesn't it? It just turns into one big, boiling, messy pot of, I don't care what it's called, here's how I feel, I'm unhappy, god damn it, and I want to wake the fuck up.
Yeah, it actually goes beyond being happy. It's sad. I feel sad.
Right. Sad indicates that it's taken on an emotional quality that's sunk into the marrow of your bones, right? That sad is I can't move. Sad is I don't want to get out of bed in the morning. Sad is paralysis, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And I will also say this, the sum of that sadness is due to the external circumstances. Some of it is. Some of that, now that sadness you can also look at as sort of a low energy state. I have low energy states too, where I just don't feel perky and peppy and ready to go. And there's a sad quality to it. There is. And you can be sad and have spiritual awakening simultaneously. It's the real sludge of the sadness that we want to work with to clean up. That you will recognize it once it's gone. That sadness is...
Yeah, it's not the, it's definitely not the surface sadness that I'm talking about. It's
Okay.
more that deep down,
Right.
dark,
Right.
inside sadness.
Yeah. Well, we'll work on it, like that in today. It's... It gets tiring to have that sadness every day and to be working with it and to meet it, to confront it, to accept it, to bring it in. It takes some work to do that. That is the work though. I mean, that's what I did. Whether you like it or not, it's going to keep on happening. Doesn't matter if you want to do it. This sadness is going to keep showing up. Once you go so far down the path of recognizing your limitations, this condition, who you are, your place in it, you get that close up to it, it's going to keep showing up in your life until you deal with it. So it doesn't matter if you like it or not. I didn't like it. Yeah, it's no fun. It's no fun. There's no doubt about it. So whether or not that sadness, but here's the beautiful thing that you're doing. You know, you're doing this, and you realize that. You realize, okay, I'm tired of running from it, burying it, etc. So you meet it, and you keep on meeting it. So throw the ball back in the court again, and then, but we're going to do an exercise with it. What else?
I think that's kind of the biggest thing, just kind of, just stuck, feeling stuck in it.
Mm-hmm.
Just really the struggle of, the sadness, feeling stuck, feeling, just feeling like I can't find a way out,
Okay.
And there were moments where, like after last week's session, we grappled with pointlessness, and that was, kind of had the same heavy effect
Yeah.
before we talked about it, and afterwards it kind of lightened it up a little bit, and I found some wiggle room around it.
Right. Right. So that when that pointlessness came up again, even hopefully a couple of days after, maybe
Mhm.
not as effectively or as powerfully, but at least you saw through it.
Right. Right.
You saw
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
game, sort of what's happening there.
Mhm. Yeah. So there was certainly So that concept kind of I was able to kind of put it in a place.
Right.
Um, but I mean this, sad versus happy, and just trying to find the peace has been definitely an ongoing
Right.
theme.
So,
Even, when, when I first met you, it was a theme.
right.
It's been kind of on and off a theme
Right.
throughout the whole process.
Yeah, and I know that too. I know that this isn't like a revelation that's
Right.
heard this from, sadness or unhappiness. I'm aware of that. But it also bears to mention, and I want to say this clearly, directly to you again, that this is not as simple as it seems like that it is, and obvious to you. And then the reason I'm telling you this is I want to boost your ego here a little bit, okay? Your spiritual ego, so we can, fatten the head and cut it off, right? I mean, it's a rarity, this kind of sensitivity to that. It's a rarity. So, know that, wow, okay, I am really feeling into and aware of something here that most people are not. And hopefully that will also give you a little bit of objective distance from it, so that you're not feeling like you're lost in it, that it gives you some little bit of strength, okay? That awareness that this is unique, that you're doing something extraordinary. Even though there's pain in it, it is extraordinary. And so knowing that I found in my own process was like a way of, okay, this is the game I've gotten myself in. It's an extraordinary game. And it hurts. And that's this sadness I'm dealing with. But there's also a power and a uniqueness to it. So this is what I'm saying, find a certain strength, fierceness, whatever works for you in that uniqueness, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So let's do a little exercise about sadness. First, I'm going to use the restroom. And then we'll do that. Okay. So we're going to do another exercise that is going to be similar to the exercise we did last week. So close your eyes. 3 breaths. Breath number 1. Breath number 2. Breath number 3. So briefly, we're going to scan your whole body. Just follow my lead. Start with your feet, ankles, shins, knees, thighs, groin, lower back, solar plexus, stomach, chest, heart, arms, shoulders, hands, neck, head. Okay? So, we know that this sadness has a stuck quality to it, has a paralyzing, low energy quality to it. So find that feeling energy best you can. A lot of times it's going to be oriented around the heart and the heaviness there. So we want to find that energy. Okay? Take a deep breath. Okay. So imagine you're on a road. It's a very clean, blacktop road. And the road leads into a forest. And as you walk into the forest, the road starts to get a little dirty. As you continue walking, the forest starts to get a little darker. So on the road, we have bits and pieces of dirt and gravel now. And the forest canopy, ever so slightly, shuts out the light. As you continue walking, the road gets even more dirtier, to the point where most of the road is now dirt, sticks, and gravel. And the concrete is chipped up and starts fading away. You continue walking, and it becomes very uneven on the road. And there's all sorts of things on the road you need to step around and over and into: dirt, grass, weeds, bits and pieces of concrete. It's a mess. And the overhead canopy of the forest gets denser, and the light continues to dim a little. You continue walking, and it gets even weedier and messier and dirtier. And now, as you walk, it gets a little wet. There's really not much of a road left at this point. There's more or less just a path strewn with trash, soppy, wet puddles, rocks, sticks, brambles. You continue walking through this. It's not easy walking. It's irritating, uncomfortable, frustrating. Canopy overhead becomes a jungly mass of vines and leaves. It's clear to you that if you keep walking down this way, it's going to become harder to see. You keep going. The water becomes more prominent, the swampy sludge. You keep walking, and you're up to your knees in it. Now it's sort of a slosh, heavy trudge through muddy, swampy water. As you keep walking, the water begins to get heavier and thicker. It's now up to your waist. You're now walking slowly with great effort through this brownish, watery sludge. "60% of the light that was coming from above has now been blocked out by the dense forest." You keep walking. Now, this water, this sludge that you're with great effort pushing your way through is turning into a black, sticky substance. It's sticking to your arms, to your clothing. So any part that touches it, it remains on that part. It's heavy and it smells foul. As you keep walking, now you're up to your stomach. It gets darker and darker and heavier, so that each step is difficult. There's great exertion required. It becomes harder and harder to move. You're now nearly up to your neck in this sludge, which is at this point now turned mostly black. And the consistency of this sludge is more like a thick, unrefined oil that smells bad. It's all over everything you've touched. Well, you're buried in it. It's completely touching almost every part of your clothing and body at this point, and you can barely move in it. But you are impulsed to keep struggling in this thick morass. The light overhead, what's left of it, is very dim, and you keep moving forward, wanting to escape, wanting to get out, wanting to penetrate through this mess. You keep going. You're now at the point where it's at your chin, and it's going to start to cover your mouth and your nose. You realize if you go under, you're not going to be able to breathe, and you aren't going to last long. And that's exactly what happens, because your next step you do go under, and you go all the way under. So now there's no light. You're in tar. You can barely move. With one last bit of effort, you push both of your hands through into the air above. And then you begin sinking some of it now. You can't even do that. You're completely sinking in this black tar pit. And you know that this is it. You've got two choices now. You can continue to struggle, or you can relax all of your effort. I'm going to suggest that you relax your efforts. So what I want you to do is keep your eyes closed. I want you to take a deep breath. And let it go. Let yourself be in that tar. There's no point in struggling against it. Allow it to have you. And I want to call your attention to two things. I want to call your attention to self-awareness, to consciousness, which hasn't been touched one iota by the tar, or by the struggle, by the pain, by the paralysis, by this completely deep sadness. Conscious self-awareness has not been touched one bit. Stay with conscious self-awareness and allow it to penetrate through and into your heart. That freedom that's with that awareness wants to meet your heart, wants to meet your emotion, your body, your mind, all of it, so that you can breathe through and go beyond this sense of paralysis and sadness. So stop struggling against it. Allow it. Accept it. So that when this sadness comes, when it will inevitably come, that you have the courage, the strength, and the know-how in the moment to meet it. So that you remember, oh, this is what I do. I stop struggling. You allow it in. You drop where you are, and you allow it in fully. And you keep doing this over and over until it meets you here all the way. And what that generally will create is a full bodily, emotional feeling that is right here and right now, in the moment. And that is the invitation of this ache. Of this sadness, is to be here now, in this moment, 100% with it. So we're going to do the same thing we did last week. You're going to open your eyes. And look here. There's no tar. There's no sludge. Yeah, it hurts. It's okay. Yeah. That is beautiful courage. Right there. Yeah, I'll go ahead and allow that to be there. energetic vulnerability that you feel right now is the energetic vulnerability of awakening itself. So there's a kind of relaxation, yes? And that's the energy, that's the relaxation of awakening itself. The difference is that once you've cleaned all this stuff out, then it's just the energy. And it's freeing. Does that make sense?
Say it again.
Well, let's start with this. And I don't want to complicate it. If you don't want to go down this way, we can.
No, it's okay.
Is that okay?
Mhm.
All right. I just want to be clear. I want to give you some understanding of where you are now compared to where you were 15 minutes ago. Okay? So let's start with this. Describe to me what you're feeling.
It just brought me to that, it's like the exercise was a perfect metaphor for how I feel when I'm in the pits or the throes of some, overwhelming emotion, I guess. And
Yeah.
so, it's that feeling. Drowning.
You need to meet that drowning. That drowning and that sadness is clamoring to be here.
But it's scary sometimes because it feels like you're drowning and you're not going to come out,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a part of you that knows you are, of course, but there's a part of you that feels like
Yeah,
you're going into this abyss of...
that's right. And all we can do is take you to this edge. And then at some point, grace will pull you through. At some point, you will kind of cross a threshold, and part of you will come out of it, and part of you won't. There's nothing you can do but to walk up to that edge. And it takes courage. And yeah, it's scary. There's no doubt about it. In my own case, I know that when I'm fairly certain that this is how it works, is that your body has its own wisdom, and it will know when it's time. It will know when it's time for you to meet that abyss fully. When you're capable of withstanding it, capable of the heat. Your body knows. And it's not far away. So there's some, in many ways, there's kind of a little bit of relief knowing that. Because you know that when you don't have to be overwhelmed, scared. You know that when it's time, it's time. It's no different than when it's time when you're a little kid to ride a bike. You will know when it's time for you to finally get off the training wheels. And it'll just happen. And it won't be scary. Same thing here. You've heard me say this before, the thing that gets you through it, and that we pointed out in the exercise, is conscious awareness. That sense of clarity, that sense of spaciousness and freedom. Does that make sense?
Yeah, except that sometimes in the hardest moments, it's sometimes hard to find.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's an honest report. You will get there. And you see where we're maybe hopefully that helps clarify you a little bit for you. I had several experiences of just utter terror. And the only thing that allowed me to meet that terror head on was this knowing who I am. This consciousness, self-awareness of knowing that, resting there, that being the ground on which I stood, to allow the terror to come and overtake me. Yes, it will come and go. This is what awakening is, at its heart. Is once you've recognized conscious self-awareness under the worst circumstance, okay? The worst circumstance being your own death, the abyss, that suffocation, that very scary place. It's then made available to you at all times. Conscious awareness is then, with awakening, is the thing that you are tethered to at all times. And it doesn't go away. And right there is what you're looking for. How we started this conversation. That sense of ongoing happiness, right? That's it. That sense of ongoing peace, connection, well-being, right there. In the meantime, don't beat yourself up. There's no such thing as being perfectly happy all the time. And by that term I just used there, happy all the time, I'm talking about the surface level of happiness. It's okay. Yeah, sure. Mope a little. It's okay to mope. I mope. So don't beat yourself up about that kind of happiness. The other type of happiness is going to work itself out in its own good time, in its own wisdom. Because that happiness is relative and related to the body, to the mind, to the emotions, your whole being. It'll get there. So you don't need to beat yourself up about the surface level happiness. Let that go. And you also don't need to beat yourself up about the deeper level happiness. Because there's nothing you can do about it. See what I'm saying? So, fling them both out. Stop beating yourself up about it. And know this, that you're probably going to keep beating yourself up about it. And it's okay. Because once you see it, then you recognize, oh, here I am, I'm beating myself up about it again. Right? So it's okay to allow yourself. So if you just keep saying yes, you just can, okay, I'll beat myself up about it. Okay, so we want to play this game, sure. Just allow yourself to do it. And when you consciously allow yourself to do it, it goes away. You start smiling again for real. So, I know. All this paradox gets a little tiring after a while, doesn't it? Don't you just wish it was steps 1 through 7?
Right.
Bing bong, bing bong, bing bong, done.
Yeah.
This frickin' paradox and touchy-feely, and yeah, it gets a little annoying sometimes. But hey, I didn't write the rules of this game. Sorry. Does that help? Has this helped?
Mm-hmm. Yes. I do think part of it is that I do spend an awful lot of time fighting it off,
Yeah.
not wanting to go there,
Right.
Or I go so far and, get scared and come, look for a distraction to...
Right. Well, this is not easy. And it does require some help, like what we're doing. At least to, in the initial phases. Mm-hmm. It will, again, as I said, it will take on its own momentum. And like it or not, with or without your consent, it will come on your least expected day, in the least expected moment, and say, okay, I'm ready.
Well, that's kind of what my life does anyway, isn't
it? That's the truth, yeah. That is the truth. And, and that kind of unexpected roller coaster ride up and down keeps going through awakening. I still very much feel like I'm tossed around in a washing machine some days. And the only thing consistently that one has, that I have, is exactly what we've talked about here today. That's consistent, is this, this presence of awareness of some strange mystery behind the whole thing.
Some kind of okayness with it all.
That's right. It's an okayness down on this level, and up on the surface level, it's a, yeah, sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not. Hmm? Yeah, it's the deeper levels that you need it to be okay with all the time. That's the non-negotiable part. Putting your foot down, saying, yes, this is the thing that I feel is lacking, that needs fulfillment. Is there anything else to this? It's a minute of silence here.